Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video, and today I want to talk about this game right here, Beyond Two Souls, an exclusive PlayStation 3 title by Quantric Dream. And essentially this is an interactive action-adventure game, which is very similar to this guy right here, Heavy Rain, another title that maybe I'm going to draw some comparisons throughout the video, because it's really hard to do an impressions video on an interactive game like this, because it's basically 100% story. And like it's a staple of my videos. I don't spoil anything, obviously, so I'm gonna try to do my best here, but I guess we can talk about the basics of the story without spoiling anything, obviously. Ellen Page, she stars in the role of Jodie Holmes, which is the main protagonist in the game. And essentially the game really is basically the life and story of Jodie Holmes, which is this girl that was born with this attached or linked entity with her, an attached soul that called Aiden. She named this entity Aiden. And essentially throughout the game, the gameplay basically is divided into two different things. One of them is the QTE sequences, quick time event sequences, and then the regular, exploration, where when you control Jodie, you can walk, and when you push the triangle button, you switch the gameplay to control Aiden, which is this attached soul entity that she has. And the way you control Aiden is through this first-person view camera. And the way you use Aiden is that you can use him to maybe sometimes distract other people if you're in a stealth part of the game, or if you want to go through walls, because he's a soul, so he can traverse through walls to perhaps hear a conversation or to gather some information and whatnot. So you're gonna find yourself switching between the two of them pretty often in the game to solve different puzzles, or just to progress through the game. So that's basically it. And I do have to say, story-wise, I was very excited for this game right here, Heavy Rain. I pre-ordered this game, got it on day one, paid $60 for it, and I ended up enjoying the game. I liked this game, but I was very disappointed in some things regarding the story in the game. So I guess I overhyped myself a little bit too much, which is why, even though I consider this a good game, it failed to meet my high expectations, if you will. With Beyond Two Souls, it's quite the opposite. When the game first came out, I was like, I'm just gonna wait. I don't want to get burned out like I did with Heavy Rain. I'm just gonna wait until the game drops down in price, because maybe I'm not gonna enjoy the games as much. And the premise of the game did not sound as intriguing as Heavy Rain, so that's why I decided to wait. And I got this for really cheap not too long ago. And I ended up liking this game way more than Heavy Rain, so there you go. As far as the graphics go, excellent graphics. The motion capture in this game is fantastic. The facial animations are very detailed, and if you take a look at a behind the scenes, you'll see how they did the motion capture, and how much attention to detail they put in this game. And I think Ellen Page does a very good job, because it's her in the game, and I really like her as an actress. I think she has a very unique personality and a very unique savviness to her, sense of humor. I think she fits the role of Jodie Holmes pretty well. And as I mentioned earlier, without spoiling anything, the game is about the life, the story, the life of Jodie Holmes. And throughout the game, you're gonna find yourself playing as her in different times or different periods in her life. So the game starts in her adulthood, and then when you beat that chapter, the next chapter might be in her childhood, and so forth. You basically juggle between this timeline that every time the game loads, you get the timeline with the different chapters that you have beaten, and you're gonna see that you jump back and forth in the timeline in her life. So it's really interesting. It makes things unpredictable, if you will, because sometimes you don't see some things coming, and as you beat each chapter, you start putting things together. So that's really interesting, and it's pretty well done in my opinion. The game does offer different endings. Obviously, the options and the progression in this game is not as wide open as Heavy Rain, because what happened in Heavy Rain is that sometimes if a character dies in the game, you're gonna get a different ending, and some characters or some decisions that you make early in the game already impact the ending you're gonna get in this game. Whereas in this one, it's more of a linear progression, and towards the end of the game, you get to make your decisions to watch a different ending. So in that regard, this is a little bit less open, if you will, in terms of watching different endings and watching different scenarios, if you will. So again, I really like how the game jumps back and forth between different periods of Jodie's life. And regarding the length of the game, I think it took me around 10 hours to beat the game. But again, you're always welcome to go to the chapter select and replay your favorite chapters, or if you're curious about making different decisions in certain chapters, you can go back to the chapter select and make different decisions and whatnot. The game is not hard. I mean, this is basically a quick time event, but I do have to say that it's much easier than Heavy Rain. I remember certain scenarios in Heavy Rain, I kept failing and I had to retry some of them. Beyond Two Souls offers two difficulties from the get-go, easy and normal, and I played on normal, which is the hardest difficulty, and I don't think I've died a single time. I did miss a bunch of QTEs. I was not perfect in my QTEs, but the game gives you a lot of it's very forgiving. If you miss a QTE, you have to miss like a lot of them in a row in order to die, which again, I did not die in the game, so you basically have to miss every QTE in like certain parts in the game where you have to fight somebody, or you have to a building is collapsing and you have to run through the debris and whatnot. So you really have to do a very poor job of failing the QTE command. And the game offers a very, I don't think it's a new way of doing QTEs, but basically the game goes into sometimes the game gives you the prompts on the screen, but sometimes the game goes into slow motion, and based on the body language of Jodie, you have to react. So for example, if you're trying to escape a building and a debris is following you, and Jodie jumps to the left of the screen, the game is going to go in slow motion, and you have to push left. The game doesn't tell you have to push left, but through observation you make those decisions, and it's very intuitive, and it felt like something new in the game, to be honest. Now, with everything being said, the game did irk me a little bit when it came to certain parts in the story that, again, I cannot really talk, but similarly to Heavy Rain, some things really irked me, especially towards the end of the game. And I think that's kind of unforgiven, because this game from the ground up was built or meant to be a movie-like game. So it's really hard for me to grasp the fact that David Cage, the director, makes some, I don't want to say mistakes, but there are certain things that really bother me a little, slightly, that hinder my enjoyment with the game. Not as much as Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain, I had more issues as far as the story and the plot. I really disliked some of the decisions that the director made with Heavy Rain. But Beyond Two Souls also has some of those problems, but not in the scale that Heavy Rain had, in my opinion. At the end of the day, that's a personal opinion, because it's how you interpret the interpretation of the story as you play the game. So that's obviously a personal opinion. So it did bother me, a couple of things about the story, but overall I had a very, very good time with Beyond Two Souls, and I would highly recommend this game. because it's an exclusive title, and again, you can get this for really cheap nowadays. So even if you play the game to get one ending, which is what I did so far, and I don't really have the rush to go back to get the other endings, I think it's worth it to, you know, go through this game and enjoy it for what it is, for the story. And I was quite surprised. So I guess my final verdict is that this game, I enjoyed it much more than this game right here. And again, I apologize if I was a little bit vague throughout my video, but it's really hard to talk about a game like this where it's basically 100% story. So there you go, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.